I want to remind people what divisiveness means. Okay? Divisiveness is Chris Matthews saying that he and centrist Democrats should maybe support Trump over Bernie Sanders. Divisiveness is when every presidential candidate for the Democratic Party up on stage, except for Bernie Sanders, says they would be willing to watch democracy be subverted by allowing superdelegates to choose their own winner rather than letting Bernie Sanders win. What divisiveness is not is having a strong, ideologically driven plan to fix America that works to provide universal, not means-tested, aid and support to every single American. That is the opposite of divisiveness. When Bernie Sanders says, not me, us, that is the opposite of divisiveness. When Bernie Sanders, rather than shitting on Trump supporters and calling them deplorables or whatever, says he believes many of them have legitimate concerns and that those concerns are ultimately derived from the control the billionaire class has over this country, that is not divisiveness. When Bernie Sanders says that the basis of his movement is being willing to care not just for yourself, but for everyone else who doesn't enjoy the privileges you have, that is not divisiveness. But when Buttigieg over here makes unfounded, cynical attacks against Bernie because he's salty that he is getting blown the fuck out in Nevada, or when Warren, who claimed to be the unity candidate, finds excuse after excuse to shit-talk Bernie Sanders, even as Sanders supporters are applauding her for her destruction of Michael Bloomberg, that is divisiveness. And I am so tired of these fucking wonks, these stooges, these facades, these billionaire henchmen stepping up to the plate to attack Bernie Sanders on the characteristics on which he is strongest. It's an old strategy, you know, it's a good one. You're supposed to turn the enemy's strength into their weakness. Sanders, candidate very strong on uniting people, very strong fan base, you know, very strong ideologically driven policies. The idea that everyone should be able to participate in democracy, everyone should get healthcare, even if it weren't for the fact that these policies are empirically good, which they are. They're nonetheless, you know, they tout a strong ideological claim. But that is what he is attacked on. Because they know they couldn't attack these positions at their face value. They have to turn them into weaknesses. Buttigieg has actually been tweeting quite a lot lately. My word. My word. We're going to do it all, folks. Hey, do you think we should do it like how Buttigieg talks, where he does that rip-off fucking Obama voice? Do you think that would be a good... No, I don't think so. Here. To those of you who questioned whether a Midwestern mayor could gather a national movement around a new kind of politics, you are the answer. And to everyone who believes in what we're building, this is your night. This is your campaign. It belongs to the most talented and energetic and kind team of organizers and volunteers and the nearly 1 million grassroots supporters who have chipped in. And yes, I hope you'll join them and help us raise $13 million by Super Tuesday. It belongs to students and entrepreneurs, to veterans and culinary workers, to people of every region and no religion, every religion and no religion, who agree that God does not belong to a political party in the United States. Okay, wait, this... Oh yeah, I gotta do more yeah, sorry. I'll give it a shot. It belongs to everyone ready to not only end the era of Donald Trump, but launch the era that must come next. There is so much on the line, and one thing we know for sure is that we absolutely must defeat Donald Trump and everything he represents in November. I believe the best way to defeat Trump and deliver for the American people is to broaden and galvanize the majority that supports us on the critical issues. And I believe we can defeat Trump and deliver for the American people by empowering... He does this, though. He does this try hard. Have you ever listened to him speak? He talks like that. You've heard Buttigieg talks. That's what he talks like. Anyway, I believe we can bring an end to corporate recklessness and rebalance our economy by empowering workers, raising wages, and insisting that those who gain the most must contribute the most in order to keep the American dream going forward. I believe we need to defeat Trump and turn the page in this era in our politics by establishing a tone of belonging. Listen to how this guy, he even types like this. I believe we need to defeat Trump and turn the page on this era in our politics by establishing a tone of belonging, bringing an end to the viciousness and the bullying that is tearing apart our country. You like that, folks? Is that what's tearing apart our country? That's playing into the Bernie bro narrative right now. Is that what's tearing apart, the millions of uninsured and underinsured, the people who don't have enough money, to pay for the car repair, the people who can't afford to send their kids to college? Is it the bullying that's tearing apart the country? Well, if you're a centrist Democrat who is desperately trying to manufacture a narrative to tear down Bernie Sanders, then yes, that is the choice of words you would like to choose. Yes, the bringing an end to the hateful Twitter threads, the callous memes, and the e-bullying that are making me cry and therefore tearing apart this country. Focusing on the issues, Pete. What was it you cared about over here? To broaden and galvanize the majority that supports us on the critical issues. Yeah, that's the silent majority vote right there. They're voting for the most civil Twitter candidate, I believe the only way to truly deliver any of the progressive changes we care about is to be a nominee who actually gives a damn about the effect you are having from the top of the ticket to those critical frontline House and Senate Democrats who will need to win. I fucking hate how this guy talks. Credit where credit is due. Obama was at least a good orator. He was a good orator. He did a good job speaking. It was always very entertaining watching his speeches because he felt like a good statesman. He was, of course, a monster. He deported millions, and his actions. Deporter in chief, droner in chief, horrible guy, but undeniably good orator. And I think that counts for something, if nothing else. It makes me feel good to go on TV and watch my president and not see them like wiping, smearing shit all over their ass cheeks and then rubbing it against their face while talking about how he had the best phone call. I do like that. Maybe I'm a liberal, guys. I do like a little bit of decorum from the highest office on the planet. But anyway, Senator Sanders is ignoring, dismissing, or even attacking the very Democrats we must absolutely send to Capitol Hill in order to keep Nancy Pelosi as Speaker, in order to support judges who respect privacy and democracy, and in order to send Mitch McConnell into retirement. It's a fucking primary! It's a fucking primary! The literal point of the primary is to fight it out amongst the existing candidates so you can decide, you the voter, who is worthy of putting into the office. These constant... Bernie Sanders never does this shit. Bernie Sanders has never fucking tweeted about how other candidates are mean to him. How fucking cynical these people are. These ego-bruised dipshits only got into politics so they would have A, more fucking credibility and deniability that they can use to fud their pedo rings, and B, because their fucking daddies told them to, okay? That's the only reason these people give a shit about representing the people. Bernie Sanders, fucking online, offline, in person, on Twitter, doesn't matter. Very consistent messaging. Not me, us. Talking about what the country needs, what we can do to bring people together. I don't want these fucking victim complex addled dipshits in the fucking higher offices of my country. The thing like the great moments of President Buttigieg when he cynically complained about the front runner during the primary because he had the audacity to have followers who would challenge the legitimacy of his God-ordained destined run to the. That's what they think, it's Hillary Clinton's the whole way down, This is what they believe in. From top to bottom, they believe that God, and Buttigieg loves his God, that God put them on this earth to have power over the underlings, and that the sheer indignity of being outperformed by Bernie Sanders, some socialist Jew who isn't even that rich anyway, but we'll call him a hypocrite when it's politically expeditious. How dare they, take my divine providence away from me? That's what these people are like. There's no other explanation for the entitlement that they. Yeah, it's literally divine right of kings for these people. I mean, fucking Bush literally said, like, "Hey, God got me into office." So it's not exactly, out of the realm of possibility for these fucking people. But man, Buttigieg, like, let's really break into this. Ignoring, dismissing, or even attacking the very Democrats we must send to Capitol Hill. Who? Who exactly? Who? I've scrolled through this thread. I know he's not going to be clearer. I would love for him to answer this. Who exactly? And follow-up question, is it never acceptable to attack Democrats? Because if so, my friend Buttigieg, you have posted cringe. Because this is an attack on Sanders. Remember, folks, the selective hypocrisy of the conservative Democrat. Always attacking leftward. Anytime they get attacked, hey, what happened to unity? Hey. What happened to, opposing divisiveness? What happened to bringing the party together? You can't do that. You can't criticize me. What? You can't tell Democrats that you're going to win in spite of their establishment, even though the DNC is doing whatever it can to stop you? You can't criticize the party you're a part of. You can't change divine will. You're not the chosen one. You're not allowed to make changes to the DNC. What, you think because the voters like you that you get a say in any of this? Bernie? The level of entitlement and fragility and frankly scary, like genuinely terrifying the impression they give of being sort of following a heavenly mandate towards the presidency is extraordinary. We can go on. We can either prioritize ideological purity or inclusive victory. Again, this is they like hitting on this, and Buttigieg said this again in the video clip that we just played. Inclusive victory. What does that mean exactly? Because right now, Bernie Sanders is leading. So actually, Pete Buttigieg, for you to say that people should vote for you would be for you to advocate for an inclusive victory, because far fewer people like you than like Sanders. Sanders is the most popular Democratic candidate. And also, this is a fucking primary. The point is to duke it out. That is the point of the primary. You make your case, you get your votes. Ideological purity or inclusive victory. Yeah, Pete Buttigieg's inclusive victory of fucking this mandatory selective service and Medicare for all who wants it, aka no fundamental changes to the existing healthcare plan, There's nothing more inclusive, after all, nothing more inclusive than changing nothing. After all, everyone is already a part of the establishment, just by way of being alive and being in it. So by changing nothing, technically, Pete Buttigieg is advocating for the most inclusive, fundamental restructuring of the country imaginable. No restructuring, no changes, just an eternal neoliberal hellscape where we have cycling presidencies between increasingly fascist Republicans and increasingly delusional billionaire-backed Democrats. That's the change. That's the inclusive victory that Pete Buttigieg wants for this country. We can either tighten and narrow and hardcore base, or open the tent to a new, broad, big-hearted American coalition. Tighten and narrow and hardcore base. That's the second typo we've come up on. Tightening and narrowing a hardcore base, huh? Is that what that looks like? During the Bernie surge. What does that mean? Does that mean more people are coming over to the Bernie camp? Does that mean that Bernie Sanders is actually far and away the most likely candidate to come to the DNC first ballot with the most votes? Wow. You know, challenging the overwhelming statistical advantage that Bernie has here feels a little bit divisive. Remember, folks, when you see this kind of language from people like Pete Buttigieg or from other centrist Democrats, they're not saying anything about divisiveness or inclusivity. They're not. It's all doublespeak. They're not talking about that. What they're talking about ultimately is it's a villain speech at the end of a movie when he's dangling from a cliff above a volcano and the hero is standing over them, watching down, deciding what to do. And what they're saying ultimately is this: you don't have a right to decide the future of this country. No amount of voter support gives you that right. You weren't chosen. You're not the right one. You don't have the authority. No amount of electoral support gives you the right to wrest away from the DNC the direction of this party. We will control this party forever, and we will keep it exactly where it is, at the nice interstice where we don't actually challenge any of our, corporate donors or backers, but we get to appease the populace with some, light, vague helpings of neoliberal progressivism. That's where we're keeping the DNC forever. And your threat to that process is deeply divisive to my butt cheeks, because it is making me shit myself. And the butt cheeks split open as I fill my pants with shit at the sheer numerical advantage you have over me, because you actually speak to the voters and aren't part of a cynical, eldritch creature that has been spewing forth centrist Democratic candidates for decades now. This is our shot, our only shot, Pete Buttigieg butt cheeks, to beat Donald Trump, so I'm asking Americans we make sure it's the right choice. Ours is the only campaign that has beaten Senator Sanders anywhere in the course of this cycle. We achieved that by bringing in new voters, by running strong across age, across gender, across ideology. Hey folks, there's a particular demographic qualifier that he's left out of this one. Any points in chat for anyone who can recognize which specific distinguishing characteristic he's left out here from amongst the voters? Not across race. There we go. That's it. We did not, in fact, bring across people along racial lines, my friend, because Mayo Pete is shockingly unpopular with black people. Of course, Bernie Sanders, by far the most Hispanic support, catching up to Joe Biden when it comes to black support, as I understand it, by running strong across age. That's not true either. Bernie Sanders has the fucking handle on here. Wait, we can take a look at Bernie Sanders polling age. That's an old link right there. Does anyone have any specific oh, I see. Polling age group. It's giving me the age of the How can I not find this data? I'm looking, folks. I was just trying to illustrate a point that I know is already the case. How Democrats poll based on age, blah blah blah. Ah. That's based on gender, based on age of voters. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, this was before any of the primaries, and Sanders got, holy shit, more, by an overwhelming margin, the support of the youth. There's more recent data. It's irrelevant largely here because we know how young people come out. But anyway, yeah, the idea that like Pete Buttigieg is like claiming this broad, diverse coalition is fucking hysterical, considering that it's mostly like middle class, middle-aged white people that come out for him, and that's it. That's the only reason why Iowa was his like bounce off state, you know, why he invested so much into canvassing for that place, because Iowa had, you know, its racial and age demographics sort of support what might have been his his constituency. Apparently, Destiny is also a Buttigieg fan. He is himself an approaching middle age, wealthy white guy. So you know the the prophecy holds true. Then he links the same donation link a second time. He manages to do it again, and then he does it. Wait, this is the same Twitter thread. He did it 4 times? It's the same Twitter thread. Does he do it again? No, 5 times. He does it 5 times over the course of this Twitter thread, which is pretty incredible. I couldn't see who was who behind each light, who was young or who was old, who was white or who was black, Latino, Asian, or Native, who was on 2 feet and who was in a wheelchair. It's a weird get right there. If we can light up a high school gym, we can light a neighborhood. Oh man, this is how I know that he's tweeting this himself and that he doesn't have like he doesn't have anyone else behind him. This is the guy who said when people were, he was like, the reporter was like, hey, you know, people are calling you Mayo Pete, and he's like, I don't know what that means. I guess I'm not hip with the youth language. I'd have to look it up on Ask Jeeves. And now I can't believe Buttigieg is coming out as the school shooting candidate. Damn. Maybe this is good. Now that Buttigieg has come out pro-school shooting, maybe Bloomberg, who does a whole bunch of anti-gun advocacy in his ads, can step up and the 2 centrist Democrats can fight against each other.